Okay, so now let's talk about the difference between a monolithic kernel to microkernel. What's the difference? The difference is quite like the difference between monolithic to modular system. In a monolithic kernel, all the things are inside the kernel, or kernel takes maximum responsibilities to the maximum things it can do. You can see that in a monolithic kernel, you can see here, for example, the process scheduler, the memory manager, the file system, the device driver, the networking. Everything here is in the kernel. Now in the microkernel, as the name suggests, micro, this kernel will become the bare minimum it needs to be, and everything else will go to the user mode, user processes. Everything that can be in the user process instead of the kernel will go there. The advantage is that if something goes wrong in each one of them, here in the monolithic kernel, everything shut down, very not good, very not safe. But if I will take everything that I can, not everything, but everything that I can to the user mode, and each of them will run in a different process. So if there, for example, a crash in a file system, not everything else will crash. And also, when it is in the user mode, you will just restart it, and that's it. When the kernel crashes, very bad things will happen. So in the microkernel, as the name suggests, again, micro, the kernel will be the bare minimum it needs to be. It's a microkernel core. Just the very bare minimum that the kernel must be will be in the kernel. For example, inter-process communication will be here, and things like this. But for example, file system, device driver, networking, memory, all of this will be in the user mode as different processes. Again, there is a little bit of overhead because you need to create those processes in the user mode, but it's much more secure and stable because, again, if there is a crash, a bug over here, not all the processes will crash. The kernel or the microkernel core will be able to keep running without problems, and you'll just restart or just fix this one, and then you will be able to keep going. So this is the very, very big advantages of a microkernel on the kernel. Of course, there are disadvantages like the overhead. You need to create those processes, but this is it. So this was some words about the difference between monolithic kernel, the big kernel with everything else, everything is in it, to the microkernel, the bare minimum kernel that needs to be. Thank you very much, and that's it for now.